What is up everybody, Dan here, and E3 is almost over again and we're going to take a look at the best VR games announced so far. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our first game on the list is Asgard's Wrath, which you probably have heard of because it's been in the news a lot, but it has gotten some more gameplay, 20 minutes I think. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. But in case you aren't aware of what Asgard's Wrath is, it is a MMORPG style game with a really high budget. It's only releasing on the Oculus platform, which will be the Oculus Rift and the Rift S probably, because this doesn't look like something that would run on the Oculus Quest. But yeah, really high production value, big RPG game, really intuitive combat system, dismemberment, magic. You can apparently also recruit animals to fight alongside you as a companion, and it's basically you go from a mere mortal, you fight your way all the way up to you are some kind of Norse chest-hairy god or whatever. And yeah, it's looking really promising, really excited for this one. Asgard's Wrath is releasing in late 2019 and only on the Oculus platform. And the next game on the list is After the Fall. This is a shooter game made by the same people that made Arizona Sunshine, which in my opinion is still one of the best VR shooters to date. Not a lot is known about this game yet. We've had a teaser trailer, there's been some screenshots, but what we do know is that it is a post-apocalyptic game. It's set in LA and everything is frozen over for some reason. You're fighting against humans and monsters, and the monsters are basically mutated humans who've taken too much of some good old designer doo-doo, and they've gotten a bit weird. You can play it solo, but it also seems to be some seamless co-op, as they list on the page, which is pretty exciting. The game also features extensive customization of your character, weapons, loadout, whatever. It's completely adapted to your playstyle, and apparently after you finish the story alone or with your friends, there's plenty of end-game content, so when you're done playing the campaign storyline, the game isn't over. There's more to do, like varying missions and challenges and other things to do. Looking pretty exciting so far. I really hope we'll get some more info very soon. After the Fall is releasing somewhere in 2020 on PC VR and PlayStation VR. Coming in at number 3 is Budget Cut 2 Mission Insolvency, which is a sequel to the first Budget Cuts game, which was actually really good, but this one is set after where the story of the first game ends, and it builds on the very smooth working mechanics of the first game, but it's less glitchy, more optimized, and in general just more streamlined. This game also takes place outside the same old office environment we all know from the first game, so there's more variety in the places you'll be. There's also new environments, new enemies, new gadgets, so a whole lot of new exciting stuff. We've gotten some gameplay and a small trailer for this so far. Some people have gotten to play it and they say it's basically like the first game but more extensive and it just works way better. So yeah, something to look forward to. Budget Cuts 2 is coming out late 2019 on PC VR. And at number 4 we have the Soulkeeper VR, which is another VR RPG game. They claim that is the first AA VR RPG. This one will also release on the HTC Vive platform, not just in Oculus, so that's great. The game has really great graphics because it's made on Unreal Engine 4, which usually, looks very pretty. The game features multiple storylines, monsters and human enemies which you can murder using your sword, magic, or of course the good old VR bow. And one of the coolest planned features for this game so far is that it will have rideable dragons. And you can behead people, which is always, a good thing in VR. The Soulkeeper VR is available on PC VR and is in early access now on Steam. Next up is Boneworks, which is personally my most anticipated VR game of 2019. Boneworks is a narrative-driven, fully physics-based action-adventure game using experimental physics, as they call it. It's kind of like Half-Life if you think about it, because it also has a lot of physics-based puzzles, and this game really sets a new standard for interaction and movement and everything in VR. Everything in the game has mass and weight and should react according to how it would in real life, so everything should feel natural, and 99% of the items in the game world are fully interactive, so no more hands just sticking through objects you think you can pick up, which completely breaks your immersion. This game is really quite impressive, and if it lives up to the hype, this will really just revolutionize what we think VR games should be and should in the future hold as a quality standard. The YouTube channel Node, which has one of the developers in the game in it, makes a lot of videos on this. I'll link some of those in the description. You should really check them out because they really show off how fun the game can be. The game is set to release in late 2019 and will only release on PC VR. And at number 6 we have The Walking Dead Onslaught VR, which is another VR zombie shooter, but this one actually does some things differently. This one has an official Walking Dead license, so you can fight along characters from the show. The game features ranged and melee weapons, and the game has a very large focus on gore and dismemberment. According to the developers, they've put a lot of effort in. They have very advanced physics and ragdolls and a very detailed combat system to use those in, which is pretty exciting because we all know just good feedback and interaction in VR games can really make a game to another level. We don't have that much info on the game yet. We've seen a trailer, there's been a couple screenshots, but there's no info on the story or any extended gameplay videos yet, but there's definitely more to come. There's no release date for this game yet, but the game will release on PC VR and probably PlayStation VR as well. Next game on our list is Battlewake, a VR pirate naval battle game. It's made by the same people that made Creed and Raw Data, so they definitely know what they're doing. We don't have that much info yet, but we do know that the game will feature a single player, a multiplayer co-op, and you'll be able to fight monsters and other pirates on various larger-than-life sea adventures. And the interaction looks really cool on the ship, with being able to load and aim the cannons, hitting the bell, steering the actual ship with the giant steering wheel. All looks very, very cool. We'll definitely receive more info on this later. The game is set to release pretty soon in the summer of 2019 and it will release on PC VR and PlayStation VR. And at number 8 on our list we have PistolWhip. This game was just announced at the E3 at the VR event. We really don't know much, but what we do know so far is that it's basically Beat Saber meets John Wick. It's a neon colored rhythm-based shooting game. It looks very fast-paced, like you're just sort of flying through a hallway with like music in the background and you're shooting enemies at the exact beat of the music. It looks really cool. I really want to see more about this, and hopefully we'll have regular updates on this because I'm really craving another rhythm game as good as Beat Saber because it lends itself so well for VR systems. We have no release date for this game yet, but we do know is that it's releasing on PC VR and hopefully it'll also release on PlayStation VR like Beat Saber did. And sticking with the trend of games we don't know much about yet, the next game we're taking a look at is Lo-Fi. Lo-Fi is made by the same people that made Technolust, which was a pretty critically acclaimed, very well made adventure game. This game, Lo-Fi, is a cyberpunk single-player adventure game where you play as a cop in a very dark and gritty cyberpunk world. You'll be able to patrol the streets. You can actually drive a floating air car, cop car, which looks really cool. And the game mostly consists out of fighting crime and solving puzzles and solving mysteries, basically. I really want to see more about this game because I am a massive sucker for cyberpunk things and synthwave related things, and I think it's also something that matches very well with VR since it's like future technology-ish. There's still no release for this. It's set somewhere in 2020, which is a while off, and it's only releasing on PC VR so far. And we have already reached the last game on our list, which is Rogan, the Thief in the Castle, which is a VR adventure game. It's a medieval-based stealth game where you have to intrude a castle. And the game has a very large focus on stealth and not combat, as the player character is pretty weak and the guards are much stronger than you. So you have to avoid them by solving puzzles, pickpocketing things, creating distractions. Which is also really interesting is that the game has a very large focus on sound, like footsteps, doors closing, etc. Also the speed and rate at which you do actions creates more or less noise. So if you're really stressed, you might make more noise and mess things up and people will hear you. So you might at some points need to be really slow and careful like you would in real life, which can add a lot of tension and I think is a very interesting gameplay mechanic. The game also has a story, which I'm not really getting into now, but that's also going to add a lot of depth. The game is set to release pretty soon in July 2019 and will release on PC VR.